Take a walk on the wild side. Will the birds and the bees survive? Right before me, my newfound hippie side. Once ignored these conspiracies online. Out the window, visions of the earth. Sign me up now, make sure you use your smart. Take a walk on the wild side. Will the birds and the bees survive? Would your children ride to see Mother Nature's side?
Welcome to Smart Health Talk with your host, Elaine McFadden.
Welcome, everyone. This is Smart Health Talk radio show, and I'm your host, Elaine McFadden, a registered dietitian with a master's in public health that cares about you. That's right. That's why we're here, because we care about you, your children, your children's children, and the future of our country and this planet as well. And we bring the issues that you don't hear about on television, and that's because there's no money to be made here. There's actually money to be lost. And that's by companies that Monsanto. Just saw a Monsanto commercial not that long ago. I noticed that Lowe's and Home Depot are not running Monsanto commercials anymore, especially here in California, where the state of California has decided that Roundup is cancer-causing. And maybe a lot of people that are listening right now have heard of Roundup pesticide, but there's actually a lot of other pesticides that we should be very worried about. And we are so lucky today because we have an incredible guest on our show. Ask Dr. Nathan Donnelly, and he is from the Center for Biological Diversity, which is one incredible group of people, and I think you almost have to be a lawyer to be there. But they are doing things for us, fighting for us all over the country for all different kinds of issues, but not just for us, but for the things that are out there that are living and very important to our life, and they don't have anyone else to speak up for them or fight for them. And they are a target because there's ways to make money off taking away their habitat, or having land dedicated for mining and fracking instead of for an endangered species. But it goes way farther than that over here at the Center for Biological Diversity, and they've got their hands in lots of different things, lots of different issues, and they're in court fighting for us. And Dr. Nathan Donnelly is with us today, and we are going to be talking about a wide variety of issues here, because I got questions I want to ask him, and he's actually known for answering questions, so we're pretty happy to have him here. Are you there, Dr. Donnelly? Hello? Dr. Donnelly?
Let me see if I can call him real quick. It seems like he maybe can't hear us, so I'll call him real quick.
Okay. That's okay. We have Brandon right here at KCAA. Here's our engineer, and he's going to get us hooked up with Dr. Donnelly. But in the meantime, we have some really important issues that are happening in the news. And the EU, they had decided that they were going to ban bee-harming pesticides, which is neonicotinoid pesticide, something we're going to be talking about today. Now, just the fact that the European Union is wanting to ban these pesticides should kind of be raising some red
yeah,
here in the United States. Okay, so there he is. I see ya. Okay, well, we're hoping that we're going to be able to talk just fine. and also watch Dr. Donnelly. And of course, you can watch us on KCAA Radio. .com. We're also live streaming on YouTube right now, so hopefully. How we doing, Brandon? All right, we got a thumbs up from the engineer, and I can see Dr. Donnelly right there. Hey, Dr. Donnelly, welcome to Smart Health Talk.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, I went and did some research on you, and I found out that you're pretty good at answering questions, and that you invite people to ask you questions. Is that true?
I do.
So what are some of the hardest questions that you've had to answer?
You know, I don't really think any questions I've been asked are really all that hard. You know, a lot of the questions that I'm commonly asked have to do with, so I'm sorry, I'm getting a little echo.
Okay, Brandon will be working on that. I know I can't stand that when that happens. So hopefully, hopefully we'll be able to take care of it. It's a little balancing of all the sound and audio.
No problem.
Are you still getting it when you talk?
Okay, it fixed. Yeah.
Okay, right on.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, you know, a lot of the questions I get asked are just topics that I'm very interested in, you know, pesticides and other toxins and how they can impact human health. And so these are, you know, these are areas that I'm really interested in, and I have, you know, a lot of knowledge on, and it's a topic that I love to discuss with people, even, you know, if we have differing views.
Well, I'm curious because I want to get everyone interested in pesticides. So they ask questions like you, and I want to know, what is the secret? What was the trigger, do you think, that happened in your life that became kind of a life-changing moment where you're like, okay, this pesticide issue, I have to like put my attention and my skill and my time to this?
Well,
it's a big commitment.
It is.
And it's a tough fight too, with a lot of resistance, and you're going at big corporations. It's not an easy fight whatsoever. People have been exposed to lots of propaganda from the merchants of doubt from these corporations, so they're kind of in their ballpark thinking they're doing a great job for us and protecting us from diseases that could kill us. And I'm just like throwing out some of the things that they like to tell everyone, and I'm kind of curious on how you respond to that, because I want to get our audience that may be listening to us right now. I want to grab them right now. I want to hold them for the entire hour. I want them to listen to every single word that you have to say, Dr. Donnelly, because I have a feeling it's extremely important, not just to our own personal health, which, you know, that's what people always think of first, is like, you know, how is this going to impact me? But then you start thinking outside the scope, the circle of people around you that you care about, your family, you know, your friends, the people that mean the most to you, the things that mean the most to you. And do you think it's safe to say that a lot of these things that we take for granted are at risk?
You know, there's risk in everything we do. You know, the first question you asked of sort of why I decided to go into this, you know, around the time I was deciding where my focus would be for my PhD when I was in school, both my father and a couple months later, my sister were diagnosed with cancer.
Wow.
My father's an older man, and, you know, this was sort of not necessarily unexpected, but, you know, my sister is younger than me. She was in her 20s, diagnosed with thyroid cancer. And so this is not normal. You know, obviously we'll never know what, you know, contributed or caused these things to members of my family. But, you know, it just got me angry of, you know, there's so much around us that we don't know how it's interacting in our bodies. And there's a lot of interest in not having us know. There's a lot of secrecy, a lot of pushback against people who just want the right to know what's in the food that they buy, what's in this hair care product that I buy. You know, what are the risks to me by using this? Because an informed person makes often many different choices in their life than an uninformed one. And so, moving
I love
forward,
that. I love that one right there, Dr. Donnelly. I mean, that's what we're all about, is educating people and making them smart consumers, because like you said, it's hard, to me, it's hard to protect yourself when you don't realize that you're under attack.
Exactly. And with a lot of these long-term chronic diseases, like cancer, the complexities of how these diseases develop really make it so that it's really almost impossible to determine what caused something. And oftentimes, it's not one thing that can cause disease. It's many of these multiple things encountered together in our environment, interacting with our genetics, interacting with lifestyle choices that we make, coming together. And a lot of times people go through their life without knowing what they're doing is harmful. Some things we know about. We know that drinking is harmful. We know that smoking is harmful. But there are a lot of other things that we're doing that really there's not much information on. And that's frustrating to a lot of people.
Well, and it's beneficial when there isn't information. I mean, look at what's been happening to our EPA and the access that we have from our federal government to information on research, that taxpayer dollars were spent to do this research to help scientists and anyone, upcoming scientists, people looking for answers. That when we have this kind of information available, who knows what someone might come up with by having access to that. And when they take that away, it's very frustrating that we don't have that. And we both have something that we're interested in that is near and dear to my heart, which is monarch butterflies, which I feel like are kind of, they're trying to tell us something by what's happening to them, that they're somewhat of a litmus test for what all the things that you just said, Dr. Donnelly, these things that are happening to us on a daily basis, maybe in small amounts, but chipping away at our health, compromising our immune system little bits at a time. So when the time comes when we really need that army of good guys to protect us, our troops are depleted and we don't have much to fight with. And that can happen to anyone, anytime. In my mind, you can be exposed to something in the environment. You're just out shopping or wherever, and next thing you know, you got flesh-eating bacteria. Something like that. What are your thoughts on that? Like our immune system, the first line of defense.
Absolutely. I mean, it's important to stay healthy and make sure that we have those defenses when we need them. But, human health and environmental health are really inextricably linked, as you mentioned before. And a lot of these species, like the monarch butterfly and other species that are really imperiled, are indicator species. They are an indicator of the overall health of our planet and the various ecosystems that they inhabit. And so when you start having some of these species get in real big trouble from human actions, it really can tell us that, it's really not only these species that are being harmed by this. It's everything, and it's ourselves too. This, for instance, with the monarch butterfly, pesticides are a real big driver in its decline. Pesticides are working on multiple fronts. You have herbicides, which kill plants that are harming monarch butterfly habitat. It's killing the plants that monarchs lay eggs on. It's killing the plants that have nectar that monarchs eat for food. And then you have insecticides, which are pesticides that are meant to kill insects. And they are directly affecting monarch health. You have things like neonics and other insecticides that really can impact the health of these creatures. And just because a pesticide is designed to kill a plant or an insect or a fungus or whatever the target is, doesn't mean it only affects those classes of animals. There are off-target effects that are often found much, much later, in which, other species of animals can get harmed by different pathways. And, with insecticides particularly, human health is a big, big concern.
Well, as a matter of fact, I have a milkweed sitting right here next to me that came from my yard. And all those reasons are why we started Blue Monarch Project Nursery, organic nursery, where we have organic milkweed. I found out just those very things that you mentioned, the neonics, a lot of the home improvement stores, local nurseries, they're spraying pretty much everything that they sell. And there is no place to get nectar plants or milkweed plants that didn't have this pesticide on it already. Let alone all the outside forces from neighbors, which in my mind, Dr. Donnelly, these are mini chemical weapon attacks. My neighbor was out there with some giant tank. I don't know where she got it. She's really a nurse, but she's out there just spraying with this giant metal tank, and the smell, I know it's like the pyrethrum or whatever. The smell I just absolutely detest, and it stays in the air, it stays in the neighborhood for like days afterwards. But she was like literally just saturating this hedge as I was watching her. Like every single leaf had to have this pesticide on it. And I just feel like, this is in the hands of people that are not licensed, they're not trained in these pesticides. I don't know if she bought a concentrate and mixed it up and thought, oh, well, maybe stronger is better. But I have butterflies, or I'm trying to have an organic nursery, and when people are doing this, they don't realize the drift that's happening. And I saw one monarch in my yard today. Is that like exciting? Finally, the first time this year, Dr. Donnelly, I saw a monarch. And not just that, but I watched it and I thought it laid an egg on one of my milkweed. And sure enough, and I have the monarch egg on my milkweed right here next to me. Is this like, to me, this is like a miracle. This little monarch egg is a miracle because of everything that this species has had to fight through just to survive, to have one little monarch in an area where we used to have millions of them. This area was known for millions of monarchs. So, hearing my story there, what does that make you think, Dr. Donnelly, compared to like your experience?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I grew up in the suburbs of Kansas City, and I remember as a kid seeing monarchs everywhere. I mean, just everywhere. And, my mom's rose garden had a big cluster of milkweeds right next to it. And I'd see these caterpillars all the time. And, when I was in grade school, the monarch butterfly was really the first animal that caught my imagination. I just couldn't understand how it could turn from a caterpillar to an adult butterfly.
I know, that is
it
so
just
amazing.
Amazed me. And it was more entertaining and thrilling to me than any of the comic books I was reading or any of the alien stories I was reading. It was just so foreign to me, and I couldn't get past the fact that this was a species on the planet that I lived in, and it was right there, and I could watch it happen. And so that really gave me a huge, profound thankfulness and a desire to be involved in the natural world. And I think kids get that all the time from species like the monarch and these other amazing animals that have evolved to do just otherworldly things, and I think it's important that we have these species around because that's how particularly young children connect with the natural world, and that's how I did. And I just hope that we'll be able to keep this amazing species around so that my children will have the same joy that I did.
Well, you just brought tears to my eyes because that is like kind of become our mantra. I really started thinking about it, and I thought about how people, their face lights up whenever they tell that story of being a child and their experience with the monarch and the caterpillar. And it's like one of their very favorite memories. And I thought by not having the monarchs, we're stealing that opportunity from our children. And what I want to happen is to make monarch memories, to make new monarch memories with our children. I mean, to me, that's like just such an incredible gift. Because like you said, it inspired you to be a scientist. I mean, that is huge. That is huge. We need scientists. I actually heard one guy from, it's called Steamroller, a new app that's helping to connect science. There's like 3 million technical jobs that were not filled over the past year. And sometimes it's not just, it's the training, it's, the location versus where the job is, all these different things. And this app is trying to help people not just connect with jobs, but with mentors within those different categories of science and and technical, so that maybe they can have someone to look up to. Because there's just so many new jobs out there, to have a mentor like that where it's like, gosh, I know I'm really good at this stuff. I know I'm good at science, but like, how do I get started? What kind of advice would you have to people because you work for just such an incredible organization, and all the things you do, you're doing so many great things to help other people and help, like I said, these innocent victims that has no one else to speak for them. What would you say to other people out there that want to do the kind of things that you do?
That's a really good question. I think the best thing you can do is just get involved. Get involved at every point that you can in your local government. Get involved with local city council issues, and just get informed about these issues. Because the more informed you are, the better spokesperson you will be to those around you. Whether it's your uncle who you disagree with on these things, whether it's your brother who doesn't really understand but he wants to know more. The more informed you are, the better capable you are of informing others. And it starts at that small level, just education. And so I would say, get informed on these issues and start talking. Just start going around talking to people. Get involved at various marches or events that take place in your local community. Get involved with your local school board or city council, and take it from there.
Well, you just inspired me, because I've written the speech and I plan to hit the city council again tonight.
Great.
I went month before last, and the first time in here, even though I do this radio show and I've talked in front of people before, getting in front of that city council I think, because I'm so passionate about it. It's my own community, and I want my community to be safe and healthy, beautiful place to live. And I'm dealing with health professionals. I'm in the middle of a place that's full of health professionals, and you would think, oh yes, we're on board, we support you with this, but I can see it's still going to be a fight. But it's the approach that you want to take too. I think I kind of, laid it on the line last time, but this time I want to come with solutions and answers and ways that we can work together, form committees, and take the city of Irvine, a sister city here, is working towards being a pesticide-free city. Yeah. And there's lots of other cities that are trying to work towards that. And I think learning from each other, and just like Irvine has some great materials right on their website for bringing to any city council out there. You can just plug in the name of your own city council and use these kind of materials. But you guys, a lot of what you do is more in the courtroom than actually out in the. Do you guys do events too, or is most of what you're doing in the courtroom? And what do you think are the highlights from 2018 that you have personally been involved with, or that you could say the Center for Biological Diversity is feeling pretty good about right now, or feeling pretty bad about? Because that goes both ways, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, the incoming Trump administration was a blow to everyone. But we have a website on our site, a lawsuit ticker, a counter that we have counting the number of lawsuits we've initiated since the Trump administration came in. And I'm proud to say I checked it this morning, and we're at 69 lawsuits against the Trump administration for poor decisions, regulatory decisions that they've made.
Wow.
So we're
Kick some
very
booty.
Yeah. I love being a part of a very aggressive environmental movement, and I think Center for Biological Diversity is really at the forefront of that. And we're not sitting meekly by as the Trump administration tries to do all these things to destroy the land that we love. So we're fighting tooth and nail until hopefully a more friendly administration comes in next.
Right, just to hold on to everything that we can. But, there are people out there that think that Trump is doing a great job and that these decisions he's making are adding to their prosperity or future prosperity. What do you say to those that are on that side of the fence? And then we'll get into the wall. Now that we mentioned fence.
Well, people have different priorities, and their life experiences have shaped their priorities. So, it's important that we keep an open dialogue between people that have these different points of view, because ultimately, I feel like we're on the right side, and the truth will ultimately win the day. And so, I'm excited moving forward because I see a lot of change in people. The younger generations have an outlook on life that is very different than the older generations, and eventually that outlook will really come into play, and particularly shape our elections. So I think we're going to be moving forward as time goes by, not as quick as maybe some of us want, but the younger generation, the people who are going to take over this country in the next couple decades, overwhelmingly feel similar to what we do, and I just look forward to that day.
Because in my mind, a lot of what you guys are focusing on are, first of all, you're not making any decisions to support anything unless it's science-based. And you've absolutely done the research and feel that you have science behind you in every decision you make. Would that be a safe comment to make?
Absolutely. What I really like about our organization is we're not just lawyers. I'm a scientist. I have no legal training. If I went into a courtroom, I'd be an absolute mess. So we have lawyers who have really amazing experience in law, and I think we have some of the best minds working for us on the legal side. But we also have scientists as well who we work with our legal teams and make sure that we're not just doing something out of some emotional need to, but we're doing something because that's what the facts say that we should do.
Well, actually, I did the research, and the Center for Biological Diversity is one of the highest ranking nonprofits for the amount of money that you guys use towards, that you get, that people donate to you, that you actually use to go out there and do what you promised you were going to do. So kudos to you guys. I salute you for all of that. But kind of back to like a lot of these decisions that are being made by the Trump administration, I look at those decisions along with the type of farming that we're doing, because Dr. Jonathan Lundgren just published recently that sustainable organic agriculture can increase farmer profit by 78%. So we're talking, hey farmers, you want to be making more money? Do you want to save your farm, you know? And like, or do you want to just keep doing the same old thing and working for the chemical companies, which is pretty much what they've been doing. But I look at it as all of it is like, it's kind of one of those things where you get rich quick. It's a get rich quick scheme. It's like, okay, we're going to get rich quick. We're going to have all this money, but yeah, there will be a price to pay later for the fact that we went in and we did kind of this grab kind of thing, just like, you know, I want this, I want to be richer, kind of, you know, like a greedy kind of motivation. Versus looking, okay, we do this now. What is the price to pay later? What will we never have again as a result of doing this? The cost too, the cost environmentally, and what we're getting back, because I think we're not looking at taxpayer money as investments. You know, supposedly Trump was supposed to come in and be treating the government like a business, but I don't see that happening. I want my taxpayer dollar. I'm kind of like, I actually videotaped it, but I don't think we can say all the words that she said. It was like, Cara, what's her name? She's a celebrity. Anyway, she's like, I want to know what's happening to my taxpayer money. I want to know how my money's being spent. I want to know what you're doing with it. I want to know how my money's, you know, it's like, I was just like, right on, girl, go. You know, because you know what? I want to know that too. I want to know, how is our taxpayer money being spent? Because when we spent $20 billion on a Zika vaccine, which they came out with GMO mosquitoes, and like, what did the taxpayer get back for that $20 billion investment? We get some you know, I never believed that Zika was like a threat, because I did hours and hours searching. I could find not one. I found one single mention in some Brazilian clinic, and that was not any proof to me. But we're spending all this money. That is just one example on how we're spending all this money. But we're not asking, what are we going to get back from that? When they develop that vaccine and they start selling it, the taxpayers get no royalty for that. And they can charge us and sell it back to us for whatever price they want. So that's just one, to me, that's like ripping off the taxpayers. And that's what I see these big corporations getting really good at like, they can use the media to their advantage. They can they can pay off politicians. I heard one really good report that said for 20 grand, you can buy a vote. 20 grand. They could make a company millions and millions of dollars and impact millions of Americans. But one politician ready to take 20 grand to change his vote can impact that. So, you know, these are the kind of things that like scare me, because it feels like it's so easy to manipulate the system. How do you guys do it? Because you've had quite a few wins as well. And so I want to know, like, how are you guys able to do that? How are you guys able to win over these big corporations that you're up against so much when dealing with them? And I feel like the wall, the Trump wall, is just another one of these type of situations where shouldn't we be asking who really benefits? Because the research that I show is that's not really the answer to keeping. A lot of people that are illegal immigrants flew here on planes and stayed here too long. It's not they're just coming over the border, and we're spending all this money, and then we have to upkeep that wall for decades and hundreds of years to come. You know, I mean, what the heck? And then there's the environmental impact that happens when we build this wall. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to you, Dr. Donnelly, to kind of explain how these situations, like these big decisions like a wall and the environmental impact, and like when we're giving away our our pieces of our parks, and then the way we even do, take care of these parks. I mean, that's coming back to haunt us as well. But those are all issues that you guys are willing to go up against. So what are your thoughts on those?
Right. Well, there are so many examples of industry sort of bending the direction of the country to, increase its profits. Like going back to agriculture, for instance, you had, the rise of genetically engineered crops in the 1990s, these Roundup Ready crops, and farmers sort of went all in on a lot of these genetically engineered commodity crops like corn and soy and cotton. And over time, this technology proved to be pretty much a failure. Weeds have developed resistance to glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup that people were spraying on Roundup Ready crops, and it has made glyphosate, for some purposes, essentially obsolete. And so instead of our regulatory agencies saying, okay, you know what, this was an experiment, it did not work, now it's time to look at more sustainable pest control strategies that would offer us a long-term benefit. Agencies like the EPA and the USDA essentially have doubled down on this failed GMO technology of sort of combining different herbicide-resistant traits. So you not only have crops that are resistant to glyphosate, but now they are resistant to other herbicides like dicamba and 2,4-D, for instance, that I would say have much more worrisome health, adverse health prospects than glyphosate does. And you have essentially basically an explosion in the use of herbicides throughout mainly the Midwest, but really in a lot of areas of the country. So the EPA and the USDA have essentially sanctioned this dramatic increase in pesticide usage that really only benefits the pesticide and seed companies. And farmers are essentially forced to adopt this technology at this point. I mean, they've sort of bought in to the Roundup Ready trait, and all their equipment and their whole farms are set up to function with these genetically engineered seeds. And so, they're caught in this endless cycle of more pesticides, increase their input costs, and it's making their margins thinner and thinner, and many of them can't make money doing this anymore. But Monsanto and Dow and Syngenta and these companies are laughing all the way to the bank. They're making so much money off this technology. It's a complete failure. And it's just another short-term Band-Aid fix. It's going to be obsolete in another 5 or 10 years, and then they're going to keep adding more pesticides on top of that. So it's, this is the frustrating thing. But as they've been going through and approving these crops and their associated pesticides, the agencies have not been complying with federal law. They've not been complying with our federal pesticide law, and they've not been doing an analysis on how that herbicide increase will affect endangered species, which they have to do under the Endangered Species Act. So this provides a legal avenue for us to challenge these decisions, and I'm pretty optimistic that we'll be able to hopefully get some good court decisions moving forward on this failed attempt at increasing pesticide usage.
Well, we had Supervisor Sears from Marin County with their lawsuit, where they decided to use the tobacco industry strategy, which instead of going after climate change, they went after sea level rise, because that had the science behind it more than the climate change. And they also had documentation that the oil companies knew that what they were doing was causing sea level to rise. I don't know if you heard that I heard one story that said that the sea floor is sinking over the weight of all this extra water. So the sea level rise was actually worse than we thought because the sea floor was also sinking at the same time. But their lawsuit is a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit because they're already seeing water in Marin County where there was never been water before. And we know, I mean, there's property along the coastline there. That property is extremely valuable. The sea level rise it can be extremely devastating. I mean, it's hard to even believe. I know that you guys, I just wanted to mention, since you brought up cotton, GMO cotton, which is like 98% of the cotton grown in the United States is GMO. It's really interesting. Over in India, they're becoming one area of India is up to like producing 1/4 of the organic cotton for the world. And what I thought was so exciting about this story was the reaction of the government. First of all, it was a group of organic farmers that, despite opposition, despite all the stuff that they had to go through to be successful, to be organic cotton farmers in India, that they went through it and they have created this market. And what they found, this was really interesting to me, they found a niche. And this is what I try to tell farmers when they're starting off, too, if you can find a niche market. But within the medical community, there is a growing demand for organic cotton. So something to do within the medical community, there's this need for organic cotton more than ever. And so they're getting a good price for their organic cotton because of this niche market. So the government is actually coming and sending people over to study what they're doing there, to find ways to market these farmers' products, to help them sell even more of it. They say, hey, this is huge, man. The world is our stage. We could sell this niche market globally and help our farmers within this state of India be successful. And they're looking at all these different ways that they can help the organic farmers, where I feel that our farm bill, this multi-billion-dollar farm bill that is up for vote right now, is doing actually just the opposite. I read one story where the Organic Trade Association and the federal government, especially with the GMO labeling, they want to call it bioengineering. They don't want to call it GMOs. Yeah. All this different stuff to get away with this. But our farm bill, this is 5 years of the future for our agriculture. And I just feel like we're just failing with support of biofuels instead of organic. I mean, and then I don't know if this is something that you're privy on, but this, how we're spending the farm bill and how we're like gambling our money here and our future. What do you think about that? I mean, is that something that you look at, the farm bill and how we're spending all this money?
The farm bill is a disaster. I hope, I pray that it does not pass in its current condition. I mean, just on the pesticides realm, this bill, as it's written right now, would basically have federal law preempt state and local ordinances on pesticides, so that cities like Irvine and as some of these other cities would not be able to enact pesticide bans above and beyond the federal regulations. This would exempt direct spraying of pesticides into water without having to get a permit, including sources of drinking water. This would allow pesticides to be approved without having to do Endangered Species Act consultation. So you basically approve pesticides without analyzing how they affect endangered species. So it's basically a workaround of the Endangered Species Act for pesticides. So real bad stuff is in there. And this is, all industry driven. They want this stuff. They want no regulations. They want to be able to sell and use their chemicals in any way they see fit. And it's ultimately, it's an absolute disaster. And we've got a lot of allies in Congress and a lot of groups working against this. So hopefully we can at least at the very least, mitigate some of this disaster.
Well, you say that this is going to stop like cities like Irvine enacting their own pesticide policy that says that people within that city have to abide by the city's rules related to pesticides. So they see, the pesticide industry obviously sees this trend happening, because I know there's been action on cities regarding farming and using GMOs within their areas, particular areas as well, county or city. So, the pesticide industry sees this and they want to take away our freedom to be able to pass these laws, basically.
Yeah, interestingly, this is all being pushed by the Republicans, who are supposedly for states' rights. But a lot of the provisions here actually prevent states from going above and beyond what the feds do, which you'd think would be in direct conflict with their ideology. But apparently, if they are getting paid to have a certain ideology, then, that's all out the window.
Yeah. So how do us as Americans, we're learning from you. We're getting more educated here on the truth of how things are really work in Washington right now. What should we be doing to make if we want to protect these things? And the Trump wall, from what I understand, goes through actually multiple endangered areas. And one of the things that I had mentioned to you is something that I'm pretty upset about, that the federal government, I think it was 2002, they passed a law that exempting themselves from 37 environmental laws, which would apply to the wall. They could go through these places where we have the International Bird Sanctuary, the Butterfly Center. There's places in Arizona, California, all along the way. I don't know. Do you think that law is warranted? I'm just wondering, when have they used that law that that it was warranted, and what has there been like negative impacts as a result of that? Allowing themselves to build things. The Army Corps of Engineers, to me, they're not necessarily environmental, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't really think of the Army Corps of Engineers like totally on our side. When I went to New Orleans for the first time, the taxi driver told me that the levee was not safe 1 month before Katrina. So it's like the people knew, and the Army Corps of Engineers did not do a good job. They did not protect that city. But to me, that's kind of what we're trusting. We're trusting the Army Corps of Engineers. They're going to come. But the Butterfly Center down there near the Rio Grande, they actually went on their protected property last November and found bulldozers on their property, tearing stuff down for the wall in November. And they had to get the police to come and stop them because that's protected land. But they were determined to just totally tear down everything, which is like the last... that section is the last natural habitat left in all of Texas. So when we build the wall, we tear that down, we've now lost the last of Texas natural habitat left. And there's like 300 butterfly species that live there besides all these other species. I mean, this is what you deal with all the time in your job. This is what the unheard of victims that happens, we lose them. They become extinct. We make these decisions. Like, how much of that is going on right now?
Well, the Center for Biological Diversity did an analysis and found that, building of the wall along the U.S.-Mexico border would impact 93 threatened or endangered species. So this is, there are a lot of species in this area that are already under threat, and putting a wall right in the middle of their habitat is going to have huge impacts on many of them. So,
but people think that we need it to be safe. I just feel like there's other alternatives. We haven't even tapped into the full extent of technology, and technology is moving so fast. A wall would be obsolete maybe in 5 years. We could put a fake wall up just with lasers or something, But that's how I see it. So we only have a couple of minutes left. If you wanted to give any advice on some of the things that you think would be the most important last comments, then go for it.
Yeah, I just tell your listeners to make some noise. Now is not the time to be a meek environmentalist. Make your position known and scream it from the rooftops. We are dealing with a very aggressive minority of people who are basically running the show right now, and it's important that we be aggressive back. And so I just say, do what you can, make your opinions known, and keep fighting.
Well, you too, Dr. Donnelly, and thank you so much. And everyone at the Center for Biological Diversity, thank you guys for all you do. And I know you've done a lot for the salmon as well, and stopping unnecessary pesticide use out there, and on and on and on. So just thank you very much. And this is all going to go up on YouTube, everyone. You can find this video right there, share it with your friends, and all the things that Dr. Donnelly said today. Teach someone else what you learned today. That's how it works, all right? And I'm Elaine McFadden, and want you to go check us out at BlueMonarchProject.com, see what we're doing there, as well as all our social media for Smart Health Talk. Thanks so much for tuning in. Buy organic, please.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
So, you want to be in show business. Do people tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. Make your dream come true today and create your new career and learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. 949-445-1119. Call now. Do you have any questions about legal issues? Have you ever been stopped by a police officer and issued a ticket that you're scared to deal with? Have you ever been in trouble with the law and don't know what to do? Do you have a will or power of attorney question? Is your home being foreclosed upon and you don't know where to turn? Maybe you were given a contract that you don't understand. For freedom and a worry-free solution, call for Legal Shield today at 213-245-1305. It's that simple. You will have access to high-quality law firms that will fight for you for less than $1 a day. Peace of mind is just a call away. That's for Legal Shield. Call 213-245-1305 or visit us at nocourt.us. It's justice for all and not justice for some. Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you with startup capital, business strategy, sales and marketing, and establish